This video is extremely off scheduled. I just got out of the shower. I have a flight to Korea in a few hours, and I'm going to be seeing my mom for the first time in 10 plus years. And because of that though, there's a lot on my mind, and to be honest, there's a level of fear that has held me back from speaking on this, but I believe that there's a serious epidemic that is poisoning people's livelihoods, and I really do think that this needs to be said. Now, this is going to be extremely vulnerable. I'm going to be talking about my past demons. I'm going to be sharing it for the first time with you today, but in the same breath, I'm doing this for a purpose. I'm doing this because I truly believe people need to wake up to the harsh realities of this world. People need to actually recognize what is poisoning them so that they don't live their whole lives this way. So let me first speak on my background, my story, and how I've gone 10 plus years without seeing my mom. I've never really said this publicly, but when I was at this point 12 years younger, so I was likely, everything during that period of time tends to be foggy for all of us in our family, but I was around 11, 12 years old. During that period, my parents, in my eyes, had a fine relationship. We went to church together as a family, we had dinner as a family, and unbeknownst to me, there was something underlying this whole situation that I had no clue about. Without any goodbye, without any warning, without any information, my mom moved permanently to Korea, and I lost contact with her for 7 plus years of my life. She was my best friend, and overnight, I had no idea who she was. You see, my parents then got divorced over the phone. My dad went through depression, my siblings went through a really difficult time. You have to understand that we come from an Asian background. We don't talk about our feelings. So my brother went through it all by himself. My sister went through it all by herself. I went through it all by myself, and my dad went through it all by himself. But we all collectively suffered, and we all did something that I think most people tend to do, and that is create assumptions about the world around us to make sense of our own reality. We do this when we have no control over our environment, and that happens a lot. And so for me, how I made reality make sense was to have so much resentment and hatred for my mom. That's being completely honest. I didn't know why she left. I didn't even get a warning. I literally was, I hope you can picture this. I walked to a basketball court that was in my apartment complex with my mom. She had dropped me off. She walked me there. She dropped me off it's called poricha. It's a Korean tea in a specific bottle that I remember so vividly. I remember her dropping it off to me, setting it down while I went to go play basketball. I remember it, I was the only one playing basketball during that time. My mom walked me there. I saw her walk away. I can remember it so vividly. I see exactly how she was moving. She was on the phone. I remember it just like it was yesterday. And I never saw her again. I didn't know anything about the situation. And when my parents got divorced over the phone, you can imagine how hurt all of us were. And because of that, I was so angry. I was such an angry child. I put on a smile to make it seem like it was okay, but deep down, I was so embarrassed and I was so ashamed of my situation. How could you not be if you are somebody that looks like me, that grows up in a community that no one else looks like, right? There's not many Asians, let alone Koreans. There wasn't anyone that I could feel familiarity with. There was a lot of people that could not resonate with the things that I was going through. So guess what I did for 7 years of my life? I didn't tell a single soul. I suffered alone. I didn't tell my friends. I made all the excuses in the world to not hang out with them because I didn't want them to come over and realize that my mom was gone. I didn't tell anyone that my parents went through a divorce. I literally just went to school the next day and act like nothing happened. But deep down, I was in chains because I was not actually identifying what was causing me the pain, what was causing me so much anger. And I just kept pointing fingers at my mom. I even pointed fingers at my dad for quite a long time. I didn't understand, so I made assumptions about the world around me to make sense of my reality. I want you to take a quick second and think to yourself, are there situations that you do that for yourself right now? But this was a brutal reality, because I remember when I got the phone call from my mom 7 years later. And when I heard her voice, what was once so much pent up hatred and anger dropped in a second. After hearing her voice and her soft voice, hearing what she was going through, man, it changed everything. You see, my mom also was going through depression. You see, my mom had a lot of health issues. And so when she was in our family back here in the US, what had happened was she became a recluse. She only had herself. She couldn't speak to anyone because she didn't speak English. My dad was out of the house for 12, 13 hours a day because he was working all the time. Me, my brother, my sister were at school, so we were out of the house. My brother was with his girlfriend, and now they're married, but my brother was around their family all the time. My sister was out of the house. She was alone, and she was suffering mentally. She was suffering with her health, and she needed comfort, and she sought after that comfort back in her home country in Korea, where she felt more involved. She felt more included. She felt like she actually had people she could speak to. I didn't know this. And so all those years I was creating these assumptions to hate her because it was easier on myself. You see, I did that because there was a level of ignorance, but there's also a level of me being soft. There was a weakness there, right? That became that demon, the harshest thing that I've ever gone through, that I never tried to address, that I never tried to uncover. And I started to wake up to that reality. And that was brutal. It was painful. It was rough. And when I was on that phone call, I cried like a little baby. Not on the phone call because I can't seem like a little baby, but afterwards, I was just completely distraught. There was so much tension across my body that finally in that moment, it all just dropped, and I didn't know what had happened. It didn't take long after that to forgive my mom at all. I've truly come to the understanding that it's all of our first times living in this world, and just like it is for me, it is the same for my mom. You see, if we look deep down at our own selves, we have these insecurities, we have these mistakes, and we are lucky that they're not public, because the sense of guilt and shame that would be associated with it if other people knew, it would be hard. It just happens that my mom's was one that was public, that impacted a family. It was one that everyone knew of in our internal community, within our family dynamics. And that's why she held this great sense of guilt and regret. She was just human. I started to recognize the truth, which is that we all suck sometimes. We do. We all suck, and there's a lot of ways that we suck, and it's hard and it's rough, and man, will the world beat you up if you don't ever actually uncover and address your demons. You see, that's how I was able to forgive my mom, and it started to really open my eyes to certain aspects to me that I never knew before. I always considered myself strong. I did, because I looked physically strong. I was an athlete. I felt strong. But I was weak, I was soft, I was a child, I was immature. And what I mean by that is, because the world is so harsh, it will destroy you in ways that you're not ready for. So when I was physically trying to mask all the pain that I was feeling internally, in reality, my mind was soft. I wasn't smart, I was stupid, I genuinely was. I was someone emotionally irregulated. I was constantly up and down. My relationship with God was bad. I could not keep myself in check. So what that my body looked good? So what that I was fit and I could run a mile at a certain time? So what? And this is what I'm starting to really realize is the truth of the world around us. And I am actually so blessed, and I thank God every day that I went through those brutal years mentally. I went through those brutal years where I felt completely as isolated and alone. I am so blessed that I cried so much. I'm so blessed that I sat on the edge of my bed so often thinking, why am I doing this? I hate it. I hate it. I'm so blessed that I went through that, because it woke me up to this harsh reality that I think more people need to be woken up to, but actually they never face something hard enough to realize this for themselves. And that's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm being so vulnerable with you right now. We have a serious epidemic going on. We are glorifying the wrong things. We are glorifying what is externally validated to be admirable, but in reality, it's not getting at the root issue of all of our problems. You see, I'll give you examples of this. How often do you go ahead and you look at somebody with a fancy car? You look at somebody with the fancy clothing, you look at somebody with the fancy house, and you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, I want to be like them. Oh, I want to be more like them. I want to glorify them. I want to idolize them. But if you take a deep dive into the things that they say, right? The things that they do off the camera, if you have any glimpse into that, and lucky enough for me, I've worked now with a lot of successful people. I've been in the rooms with a lot of successful people, and it boggles my mind how stupid some of these people are. How, as rough as that sounds, and maybe that is too harsh, but there's nothing intellectually they have to offer, and they just have the money. What good is that when they turn off the camera and they're unhappy with their lives because they have nothing intellectually to offer? They're lazy, they're emotionally irregular, they can't hold relationships in their lives, they have no connection to their purpose, they have no ability to keep themselves in check because everyone around them are yes men. Why are we idolizing that? You look at it in every facet of that. It's not just people that are financially successful that our society tends to praise, but it's everything. Look at it, look at it. I'm talking about people that might have the fit body, right? Might have the ripped body. And we look at them, we're like, oh, I want to be like them. But they spend like 3, 4, 5 hours in the gym, and you're like, wait, what are they doing in the other parts of their lives? You know, are they actually doing things to advance their mind? Are they doing something to improve their relationship with God or whatever their purpose is? Are they doing things to keep themselves in check in every other aspect of their lives? And you hear the way that they speak and you actually listen to the words and you're like, wow, probably not. Probably not, because when people speak their words and you see their actions in real time, if you actually look past the fluff, you start to recognize maybe that's not what I should be idolizing. Maybe that's not who I want to be like. And you see this all the time. Now that I've worked with tens of thousands of different people, as I mentor them throughout their lives, I start to see this, right? We look at their schedule. That's one of the first things that we do. We look at the priorities in their lives and we see how they're trying to execute. And the first glimpse of that is going to be how you're actually planning your days, right? Like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? How are you managing your time? And you look at it and you're like, oh, why are they spending 2.5 hours in the gym, right? Like, I look at that and it's like, although that it tends to be something that people, you know, hype up and make it as a good thing. You're like, okay, what else are they doing the rest of their days? Well, they told me that they wanted to start this business that they're so capable of doing. They told me that they wanted to be smart and be good in school. They told me that they want to be somebody that is, you know, more aligned with their faith. But I look at their schedule, they're spending 2.5 hours in the gym and nothing else with the rest of their lives. It's like people are so single layered because the thing that they're looking after and they're seeking after and the idols in their lives are all single faceted. Like, that's not good enough. Like, if you're gonna spend 2.5 hours in the gym, I would say spend 45 minutes in the gym. Do it every single day. Move your body every single day. Stop worrying about what's optimal. Your life is messed up. Your life is not where you want it to be at. Why are you spending so much time in one area when you're telling me you want to do all these different things and then you complain that you don't have enough time? And then we look at the individual's workout schedule and we're like, okay, why are we doing this? Like, can we refine it and tailor it to a 45-minute workout? We absolutely can. Can we get you moving on a regular basis, not just 3 times a week, but actually embed movement throughout your day so you can have and reap the physiological benefits of what training is, because that should be the goal. Unless you are training to be a bodybuilder, a power lifter, an athlete, that's cool, that's awesome. That becomes your livelihood then. I totally understand. You should spend more time. But why are you, at somebody that has such different aspects of their lives that are so messed up, not prioritizing those other aspects? Like, wake up. Like, you see so many people go to the gym and they are in the gym. They're in the gym and they say it and they mask their emotions from the pain and all that stuff, they mask it entirely because they think that having a bigger body and lifting heavy weights solves that issue. And then you look at the actual root issue and you're like, yeah, you're still soft mentally. You're still somebody that is pointing fingers at everyone else. You're still not somebody that has started that business that you keep declaring to everyone that you have the best idea for. You're still somebody that can't maintain relationships. You're still somebody that can't make money. You're still somebody that can't do well in school. It's like, wake up. Those are not remedies to your solutions. They become almost drugs that we prescribe to ourselves to mask the pain of everything else in our lives. Wake up. The issue with the world right now is I think there's too many people, and too many young people especially, that are looking at these individuals that are only good at one area. They're looking at individuals that might have the fit bodies and training all the time, but they're screwed up in every aspect of their lives elsewhere. That can't be you. I don't want that to be you, because the world is a nasty, nasty place, and it's going to beat you up in so many different ways, in ways that you're not prepared for. So yes, you can go in the gym and you can lift weights for like 5 hours a day. You can look incredibly buff. You can feel good about that. But what good does that do if you're not smart? Like, what good does that do if you're not spiritually aligned? What good does that do if you're not somebody that can keep yourself in check with every other aspect of your life? This is my message, okay? My message, and I truly embody it, are those 4 wins. It's, can you improve on a daily basis with your mind? Can you actually learn something? Can you actually check your emotions? Can you go ahead and ensure that you are improving in the skill sets that you set out to improve in, right? If that's your business, cool. If that's your academics, cool. You know what blows my mind? People are so naive. They're so misguided. And look, I now can see some of the audiences that these quote unquote famous people have, these people that a lot of guys tend to look up to. I bet the names probably immediately pop up in your head. And you like look at their audiences from behind the scenes stuff that I have access to, that I've seen before, and it's like, oh yeah, no wonder that most of their audience are like 10 or 12-year-old boys, right? Like, no wonder, because yeah, they're a little bit more impressionable, and I'm sorry about that. I wish that they had parents or mentors to best help them understand that that's not the reality of the world, that you shouldn't be so enticed to go buy a Lamborghini and that's the only reason why you should have success. And then you go into these programs guaranteeing you $10,000 a month, and you realize that, like, yeah, there's a very small success rate. And then those people get pissed off at the individual that is hosting this whatever they call this program, this course. And it's like, yeah, they should be pissed off because they were promised something. But it's one thing for a 10-year-old or 12-year-old boy to fall into that. It's another as a grown adult like yourself, a person that has the awareness to then do the exact same thing and fall under the impression that the Lamborghini is what you should be seeking after. Look, the fancy cars in and of itself is not the bad thing at all, but it's using that as the idol for the pursuit of your life. Think about it. When's the last time that you got a new phone? When you got the new phone, you're probably on top of the world thinking like, yeah, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm the coolest thing in the world. I can't wait to tell everyone about it. All this stuff. What happened in 6 months' time? You grew numb to it, right? It didn't hold as much value, right? Because it doesn't matter. These physical things don't matter. It's not that that's of the importance. It's the person that's using the phone, right? It's you. You are the focus. The epidemic on the world is like, we're also product driven. We're also materialistically driven. And the material things are not the bad thing. If you are somebody that can be really fundamentally grounded in the 4 winds, I truly believe you can use the material things as tools to improve your life and convenience, but that is not the selling point. You're not selling to other people that you can get a car just like that. It's not of importance, guys. Wake up, because when you grow numb to that phone, I guarantee you're gonna grow numb to that fancy car. I guarantee it, because there's so many people that you see that are super successful that will tell you this. They're telling you, this isn't everything that I wanted. And then all the audience members, the people that are so naive and ignorant and don't wake up to their own harsh realities, will point at the rich person and be like, oh, I'd rather be crying in my Lamborghini than, it's like, bro, like, wake up. I don't want you to be crying at all. Like, I don't want you to be in an area of your life, in a stage of your life that you're extremely unhappy because you pursued the wrong thing for decades. That's not the goal. Why can't you wake up to the reality now? And that's my message to you right now. Take the lens off on the people that you're constantly watching. Start to unfollow them, start to maybe even take time off of social media if that's what you need. If you need to take time off, it's fine. Even if that quote unquote impacts my engagement on these videos, it's like fine. I'd rather care so much about you. Like, I want you to have success and wake up to this reality. You want to be somebody smart mentally. You want somebody to be you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be around people that are smart. You also should want to be smart. So actually try to be smart, like actually have those mental wins for yourself. And then that physical win, those things are highly interconnected, but it can't go one or the other, right? You can't just have a good body and then not be mentally strong, but just as well, you can't be somebody smart and don't have the physical fitness. Because what your body is the vessel in which you do life in, right? That's the vehicle that you have. If you're not giving it the proper fuel, the proper recovery, the proper maintenance, if you're not actually improving upon its body, then you're going to struggle. You're not going to have the longevity. You're not going to have the energy nor the focus to actually have success, sustain the way that you want it to. So the physical is absolutely important. So do it on a regular basis. Like, I don't care what's optimal. I don't need you to be going ahead and training 3 times a week, and then every other day you're literally going into horrible habits for yourself physically, and you're like, oh, it's okay because I'm training 3 times a week. It's like, no, like, move your body 45 minutes a day. You can do it. It's not hard. It's something that you can embed. It doesn't have to be high intensity training. It can be something like as small as a walk, right? You walk more, you walk another 20 minutes, another 30 minutes, you stretch more, you do more, there's your 45 minutes right there. You do a few strength training throughout the week, you do some cardio, like, you're good. But on a regular basis, you should be doing movement. The 45 minutes is that hot spot where you can move your body, feel good about yourself, feel good mentally, and have the clarity to have success in other areas of your life. Again, if you're a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, or athlete, I get it. You should spend a lot more time in there. I get it. I've been through that experience. I know what it's like. That's awesome. I'm talking about the 99% of the people that actually want to have other areas of success, and those are their focuses, like their academics, their business, like their relationships with other people, their relationship with God. Like, if those things are of importance, think more about those things and you can prioritize it, right? So 45 minutes daily is that sweet spot. And then when we're talking about your spiritual win, when I ask these individuals, like, hey, why are you doing what you're doing? Seriously, like, what does it boil down to? And you wonder why. You wonder why. So I was going to say here, but my brain went another way. Those individuals never have the right answers. Actually, those individuals don't have an answer at all. And actually, those individuals not only not have an answer, but those individuals hate talking about purpose. You know why? Because they never think about it, because it's uncomfortable. And then you wonder why they make decisions that you have no idea that they could make. Like, how could you fathom making a decision like that? Like, how could you do something like that? Like, how could you be so immoral in your decision making, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's so many things underneath you. Like, how could that individual do that? Like, they have all this money. Like, come on, we know about the whole, like, I don't even want to say it. I don't even know if this is like the right thing to say, but the Diddy situation and all that stuff. Like, you're looking at all these celebrities and you're like, how the heck, when they have all the success in their lives, how the heck, when they have everything at their fingertips, do they turn into that? And they do that? And it's like, well, those are the same individuals that never actually on a daily basis connected to their purpose, right? It's those same people that never actually understood where their values resided. And when the world told them something, when the world told them that you're the best, that nothing is better than you, when the world keeps telling you yes, when the world puts you on this mountaintop, you feel indestructible, you feel like you don't need values, you feel like you're above everything else, and it loses the humanity. So it's like, can you actually on a daily basis ask yourself the question of, where do I find the most enjoyment? Where do I find the most value? Where do I feel like the most like myself? Because I promise you, I know if you're watching this right now, all the way up to this point in time, you're going to have a lot of success. But I don't want that success to undermine who you are. I don't want that success to derail who you are. But that'll only happen on a regular basis if you ask yourself those questions. So can you, for a second, please turn off your YouTube videos, turn off the podcast, turn off the music, turn off your phone. Sit there in silence and hear your own thoughts for just a little bit. For 15 minutes a day, try this. Actually turn something off for once and let yourself think and hear your own thoughts for the first time. Actually enjoy your own presence for a second and see how uncomfortable that makes you. It'll probably make you feel really uncomfortable, but that should be a red flag. It should be an absolute big red flag that you can't sit in your own head, you can't sit in your own body for longer than 15 minutes at a time without hearing something else. That's a problem, okay? So you should absolutely block out the noise. Practice blocking out the noise. Spend 15 minutes a day literally just turning off things and just sitting there in isolation, just sitting there with just yourself, right? And then you should actually take the time to explore what your purpose is and think about those things. Your thoughts should absolutely be aligned to those questions of, okay, If I don't know the answer to what is my purpose, let's start small. Like, what are the things in my life that I'm doing when I feel the best, when I feel like my most self? What am I doing? Who am I around? What type of environment am I in? Where am I located for me to be feeling my best? Like, maybe that's where you start. Or maybe you ask yourself the opposite question of like, you know what, let's do this in process of elimination. Think about all the different times that I'm unhappy. Let me think about the things where I feel the most unlike myself, and ask yourself those questions. For just a little bit of time each day, do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to actually test to see if what you are rationalizing logically actually matches with the emotions that are associated with the experience. So those are 3 steps. Block out the noise, explore your purpose, and actively connect to it. If you can do that, it doesn't matter. You can just start off with blocking out the noise for 15 minutes a day. But once you can start asking yourself those questions, and then sometimes you'll spend some time just exploring your purpose, and sometimes you'll spend on a daily basis actively connecting to it, that'll be your 15 minutes. I promise you that's gonna make a huge difference in your life. And the 4th one, which is the most important one, the honest accountability win, it's if you imagine a Venn diagram that overlap between the 3. You have the 3 circles on the outside, that's your mental, your physical, and your spiritual. Your honest accountability is right in the middle. It's the harshest, the most brutal, the one that you absolutely need. Because if you can't keep yourself in check, if you don't do this on a daily basis, you will be like the type of person that fancies all these different cars and luxurious lifestyles only to get the thing and realize it's not what you thought it was, right? Only to be the type of individual that makes all these excuses and says, you know what, I'm gonna drop out of school and I'm gonna pursue business because I don't think school is for me, and I think that this business, I'm gonna make so much money off of it because this guru online told me that I can make $10,000 a month. And I would look you dead in the eye and be like, are you out of your mind? Can you tell me what you've done then? Show me what you've done. Show me your plan. And trust me, I've had like thousands of these conversations with my mentees because it happens. I'm telling you, it's an epidemic. When I look at them, I'll say just straight up in their face, I'll say, all right, cool, show me the plan. Show me what you've done. And they're like, what do you mean, June? I'm like, show me what you've done. If you have all these great plans for your business, show me what you've done. And they show me their thing and they're like, yeah, I just like heard of X, Y, and Z. Tell me this thing. I really think it's a good idea. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you think starting a business, managing a business, growing a business is easier than algebra? It's easier than your English class that you can't write an essay for? You're telling me that's easier than going ahead and showing up to your science class? Like, are you out of your mind? You know how hard it is to do a business? You know how hard it is to do it right? You know how hard it is to actually attain clients, to actually go ahead and retain them, to go ahead and market? Like, you know how hard it is to do product development? You know how hard it is to do market reach? You know how hard it is to do a business? And you're telling me that you're not showing up to class, and you're telling me that now you have all this confidence and momentum and motivation to go ahead and start a business? Are you out of your mind? That's why you see so many people that drop out and screw up their lives, right? It's because they heard a guru tell them, oh, school's not for you, so go ahead and pursue a business. It's like, cool. Then do both. Like, have a plan. Show yourself that you're capable of doing hard things. I fully attest to the fact that school is not for everyone. That's not what I'm saying here. But if you're going to do school, you might as well be excellent at it. And just because other people had unsuccessful experiences with their school and they're telling you they made all this money and that's what you should be focused upon and all of this nonsense, it's like, all right, what happens to that individual? Maybe they lucked into their first $10,000, right? What happens to that individual when that business becomes extremely hard? When you actually try and scale that to something that will absolutely transform your life on a consistent basis, what will happen when that thing gets hard? Well, because they quit on school, because that thing was hard, likely they're gonna quit on that too. It's like, do the hard thing. School is hard, I get it. School's not perfect, nothing is. But if you are telling me right now that you're so confident about running a business, but you haven't even shown to yourself that you can do that while in school, are you out of your mind? This is what I mean by people going unchecked, right? Again, it's different. When a 10-year-old, 12-year-old does this because they hear something, it's different. And I feel bad for them because they're being impressionable, but that's just their nature, right? They're not a fault at all. They're the victims in this whole situation. But if you're like 18, 19, 20, and you're in college and you're telling me these things, and you haven't once talked to your academic advisor, like you haven't once talked to your teachers, you haven't talked once to anybody that can help you in your education or your career, and that you're telling me because you heard a 25 YouTube video about social media marketing agencies and how that's going to absolutely transform your life. Like, you think that without ever doing it, trust me, I've done it both. I've done my own marketing agency. I've done it, but I did it while I was getting my bachelor's and master's in biomedical engineering because I knew that I could. And yeah, it's not the standard yet, but why can't you be the new standard? Why do you have to listen to all this nonsense that are telling you X, Y, and Z? Because if they're promising you anything about an easy marketing agency, they're out of their minds. You know how hard it is to run a social media marketing agency? You know how hard and how much effort it took from me to do? But I still did it because I'm good at doing hard things, because I've told myself ever since my mom left and ever since I got on that phone call with her 6 or 7 years afterwards, it was in that moment that I realized, man, stop running away from the hard thing. Man, stop running away from those demons. Man, stop running away from the things that I'm actually bad at. Man, stop running away from the insecurities. And that's what you should be doing right now. In your situation, keep yourself in check. A social media marketing agency is actually really boring behind the scenes. There's a lot of mundane tasks that you have to do, just like school. And because I've gotten good at doing things that isn't necessarily in the limelight all the time, that's how you have success, but that's how you keep yourself in check. This happens all across the board. It's not just with the dropping out of school thing. I mean, that's something that you see probably in every freaking content. It pisses me off. It makes me so angry because it's like, what is going on? Like, why are you listening to these people that have nothing to offer intellectually? Like listen to the things that they're saying. Like, actually take away the fluff and think to yourself, hey, do I want to be like that? Do I? And then you can make the decision yourself. So when I'm looking at the honest accountability, yeah, that's the idea of like dropping out of school and pursuing your own business. I see this time and time again, but it's with everything. It's like with every New Year's resolution goal, right? You set out a New Year's resolutions, your motivation is extremely high in the first 2, 3, 4 months. And you're like, oh man, okay, I can do this. And then something bad happens in your life unexpectedly. You get tired, you're a little bit more sore one day, or you have an exam and you stop going, you lose the momentum and you stop ever pursuing your New Year's resolutions. And guess what happens on December 31st? I have all this motivation, I'm gonna set the same exact New Year's resolutions. It's like, wake up. Like, wake up. When are you gonna constantly make the same exact goals and then stop blaming everyone else? And that's what I see. And that's the epidemic. So it's like, when you are young and all this stuff happens, there's no repercussions. And so I don't blame you. Like, I really don't. If you're younger than like 18 watching this, I don't blame you. Like, it's not your fault. But if you are getting to like your 20s, you're post-college, and you're still pointing fingers at everyone else, go ahead, keep doing that. Keep going ahead, blaming everyone else. But what happens? What happens next? You're gonna pass on the same trauma to your lineage, right? You're gonna start pointing fingers at everyone else, and the way that you speak, your kids are going to recognize that, and your kids are gonna do the exact same thing. And now that kid is being screwed up because of you. When are you gonna wake up to the reality? Just like I had to wake up to the reality when I got on that phone call, like, man, yeah, my mom's a human being too. Yeah, all these different issues in my life, yeah, maybe it's not my dad's fault. Yeah, maybe it's not my mom's fault. Yeah, maybe it's not the fault of my parents because they don't make enough money. Maybe it's my fault. Like, maybe it's my fault that I haven't done the thing yet. Maybe it's my fault that I quit on everything. Maybe it's my fault, and I know this sounds stupid, but I quit on my piano lessons. And to this day, I'm so angry at myself for doing that because I quit on the things that I didn't want to do. Maybe that's my fault. When that becomes a habit of yours and you turn 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and you keep saying the same things, the only person that is being hurt is you, and becomes so exceptionally selfish when you start to make assumptions about the world to better understand your reality, to better make sense of your reality. It's so selfish because it starts to impact the people that you quote unquote love, the people that you really care for, because they're going to feel that energy of yours, and that's not something that they deserve either. I don't mean to say that honest accountability is only extremely brutal and harsh and negative. No, if you're hearing that when I'm saying honest accountability, it's probably a reflection of what you've been constantly told. This is normal. Like, this is how you should be thinking about your own existence. Can you just look objectively at the things that you're doing and hold yourself accounted for? And then also recognize your own strengths. So honest accountability is both about identifying your weaknesses, which we just went on a tangent about, but also your strength. Your strength should absolutely be identified deep down within yourself, because so many times we are our biggest critics, but we don't recognize the things that we're good at. Like, you are good at things. You are. You're probably a really kind person. You're probably really ambitious. You're probably really generous. You're probably somebody. Those are all high qualities of you. Lean into more of those things and recognize that they're positive traits that you can continuously build upon. So your honest accountability should be just that. It should be you looking in the mirror and knowing exactly who you are. That takes time, it's really harsh, but it's how you have to do it. There's no other way. And this can look like in the form of journaling or having an accountability system or an accountability community. I don't mind how you go about doing this, but you just need to do something to ensure that you're staying on track. You're not making excuses, and you can actually look at your life objectively without emotions being constantly dictating everything that you do. So when we're looking at those 4 things, I also want to talk about specifically with honest accountability, but in general with the 4 wins. These 4 wins are not about perfection. I am the least perfect human being that there is in my eyes, because I know my thoughts, I know my faults, I know what I've done, I know that I'm not always the prototype person that you should be looking up to. I know that. Of course I know that. Like I know myself. I don't say this to do the 4 wins and to think that you're going to be a perfect human being, because that is also the huge issue when it comes to the self-improvement space. The self-improvement space makes everything so black and white. Like you do this thing and then you're like the best thing in the entire world, or you don't do that thing and you suck all the time. No. Life is not black and white. You're definitely not somebody that can either be a yes or a no. You are somebody that has a lot of these nuances, and we need to understand that. So perfection is never the goal. It's the ability to have a heightened sense of awareness, to know exactly where we are, and to put ourselves back onto track towards our goals, towards our own values, towards the things that are of importance to us. Because listen to me very carefully when I say this aloud. Every single person in this world can make goals. Look at New Year's resolutions, for example. You see how that's a freaking tradition at this point, and every single individual and their moms do it. Every single person can stick to it for a short period of time. You see January through March. Every single person will fail. You see this in April. A very select few individual have the heightened sense of awareness of their self to say, you know what, I might have messed up, I might have had an off day, I wasn't perfect, but that's okay. I'm a human being, I'm gonna get back to it. That's discipline. That's consistency. People think discipline and consistency is about being perfect, but no, it's the complete opposite. It's about when you are inconsistent, when you are imperfect, how do you respond? That's what the 4 wins are all about. You see, there's many days in the last 7 years as I've been doing the 4 wins myself, about 5 years of doing it almost every single day, where I've had a lot of off days and I've had a lot of off weeks, and sometimes even up to a month. But in the grand picture of things, I look back at it now from a bird's eye view. I'm like, yeah, those 4 days didn't really mean much. In the moment, it meant everything. And I went through this cycle that everyone else goes through of like guilt and shame and anxiety, when in reality, it was like, I'm a human being and I'm going to have bad days, but that's okay, because I'm just gonna get back on the horse. And those times that you can respond properly, you start to realize that a win is not just one. We talk about this in sports. It's not just one play, it's a sum of plays. And it's the same thing with your life. A winning life is not one day, it's the sum of your days. It's how you actually get back on track that really, really matters. I'm sitting here to tell you that these 4 wins, and we call them June's 4 wins because it's a true embodiment of my brand. It's like what I want the world to hear. It's my message. I know that this was a very hard-hitting video, and there's a lot that is going through my mind right now and my body as I realize that I'm about to see my mom for the first time in all these years after not speaking to her at all. Man, I think it needs to be said. I really do. I think it needs to be said that there's more to this world than glorifying all these things that are not important. You are important. Flip the lens. Like, stop looking at everything else and focus on you. So when I look at the epidemic, and if I was to title it, I think it is information overload, perhaps. I think it's something that we're constantly in a world, in the digital age of consumption. We consume so much content and we're constantly showing other people, and that makes us in this cycle of, I know what I need to be doing, but I don't do it. Because you know all these things, everything I just said in this video, you know you should be smart. You know that you should be fit. You know that you should be spiritually aligned. You know that you should know your purpose. You know you should know what you want and what you don't want. You know that you should be focused. You know that you need to be disciplined, consistency, but you don't do it. You don't do it because you're constantly in this toxic cycle of anxiety and then guilt, and then this perpetual, never moving cycle. Like, you're in this paralysis state, and I don't want that for you. I genuinely don't. And so hopefully this wakes you up to what the 4 wins are about. Hopefully it wakes you up to why so many people are taking on this journey with me, especially as they've gone through our mentorship program and they've kind of understood some of the things I was saying out here. And I didn't necessarily want to verbalize a lot of this to the public because it can be a bit hard hitting. It can be something that I get extremely passionate about, as you just heard, but I think it's important and it needs to be said. So if you want to start doing your 4 wins, please DM me, ask me for help. I'm here to help you. I think that this is something that's going to go way, way, way beyond me. I think this needs to be something that every single person in this world should do. You should improve with your mind. You should improve your body. You should improve your relationship with God, your relationship with your purpose. You should know what you want and what you don't want. You should be an excellent decision maker. That's your spiritual win. And you should be somebody that can keep yourself in check. And I want to help you do this. And what's interesting is the more I start to identify with my own story, the more freeing I feel. I think so many times you kind of see all these picture perfect family dynamics and you're like, oh, I wish I had that. When in reality, we're all just human beings trying to figure it out. And I think the sooner that you're able to fully identify with your story, the more power comes from it. This is my story and I own it.